18 minutes after 3 o'clock on this Friday afternoon. Welcome back into the Postgame Show. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell. Shout out again to our friends at Old Mill Brew Pub. Thank you for hosting us yesterday.
Those some good pork rinds.
Yeah, those pork rinds and those bacon cheese fries. We don't have any of that around here.
We do not. No, absolutely not. It would be nice.
I did just have a peanut butter granola bar.
Close to the same.
Yeah.
By that, not
really.
Yeah.
Not even
as good as the buffalo chicken dip we got to try.
Yeah.
And I'm a sucker for buffalo chicken dip.
Sure.
Elite Super Bowl snack.
When we have our next guest on, we do talk a lot of football. We often talk food, and we may be able to do both in person with him in his adopted hometown. I don't know. I mean, you've been in Dallas a long time now. This is Langston Moore, former Gamecock team captain, longtime NFLer, husband, father, children's book author, public speaker, friend of the program, barbecue aficionado, softball coach by default, and many, many other things. How are you? It's been a while.
Man, I'm doing well, but, I mean, y'all always want to invite me the day after the food and tell y'all, this is the crew I'm running with now. Y'all, man, it was great yesterday. Where was I at, man? Call me. It's like the Snickers commercial, man. Like, y'all went to a water park yesterday?
Well, when you're
spot about it.
The thing is, you're in South Carolina a lot, but you're not always in Columbia.
Right, just moving.
Yeah, but if you tell us when you're here, we'll get some food. I mean, I might bring you a peanut butter granola bar, but it's better than.
It's technically food. Yes.
Technically. I want those pork products and buffalo dip I was promised.
Yeah. Those pork rinds were like fresh out the grease, man. They were all right.
Isn't it amazing, Jay, that you have lived long enough where it starts to get artisanal with pork rinds?
Yeah.
Like, at one time, you used to go to the little corner store and like crackling pork rind, it all be mixed up together in a brown bag with grease spots on it. Now we got artisanal. Oh, man, it's wild.
A lot of the places I went, and you too, Langston, I mean, growing up where you did, but any of us in South Carolina, like your barbecue joint, sometimes it was just in a bag, like, y'all want some pork rinds? Because they wanted to cook them. They weren't selling them to you. There's like, here. Have some pork rinds.
Good country folk. We're not gonna waste nothing. We're gonna do everything. But like you said, it's like the place where you get all the peanuts and throw it on the floor. It's the same way. Like, take as much pork rinds as you want. Now it's $5 a bag,
that's right.
Jay, and it's habanero lime flavor. That's
they got seasoned salt.
They make you sweat now.
Yeah, no.
Himalayan pink salt and pork rinds. It feels like that doesn't go together well. But again, I grew up in a different time, a different place.
Yeah. Of course, the places I went to, again, you too, and probably, well, I don't know. See, Elijah's not quite as old as we are, but like the places I went, they would put like 2 slices of white bread in a little like wax paper sandwich bag to go with your meal. Like that's what I.
That was the whole point. To be a delivery vehicle, but also to, as they say, I think it's a technical word, sop up.
Yeah,
the rest of the goodness that's in that box. So
sop it up.
Oh, Nashville hot chicken, like any hot chicken joint you go to, there's always a piece of white bread at the very bottom.
Okay.
And oftentimes, if you don't have a good heat tolerance, do not bite into it. It will kill you.
Oh yeah.
But I love it. I'm a glutton for heat punishment. So I absolutely will eat the entire thing and sweat, but enjoy every second of it.
Well, we went ahead and let the cat out of the bag, so to speak, Mr. Moore. You and I talking last night about this, and we're going to get you credentialed for SEC Media Days. Do you have any regrets? Do you want to back out before we call the Southeastern Conference and make this happen?
Oh, no, I think you guys, I was going to ask you guys the question. That, one, who do I send all my invoices to when I go around and do this food tour on my own and record all of this stuff? 2, do I need to video it with the audio? Because I will have audio, but video me getting stains on my shirt while I give everybody, I guess, a welcome tour as we get ready for SEC Media Days. But, man, there's a lot going on around Dallas this time. I think the Indiana Fever and Aaliyah Boston will be in town at that time. I saw the DFW Gamecocks getting it together, so like I told you, Dave, it's going to be a nice little weekend, man. I appreciate that.
And I think, hey, let me double check this. But Elijah, is the All-Star game in Dallas that week?
Oh wow!
Yeah,
July 16th.
I think it is, man. I actually let me see real quick.
Dallas is a bumping place.
And where did Matt Moscona want us to go? Really, he said it was a gourmet, like a famous gourmet Mexican restaurant that has a cigar bar attached to it. Langston, there might be a few of those.
I'm about to say there could be a plenty of those. What side of town? But there's more plastic surgeons here in Dallas than there are in LA. So that just gives you the context of what kind of people, cigar bars, all of those things. Not to say that cigar bars are plastic surgeons and somehow those things get all tied in together, but you catch my drift. The point is, Jay, I got a whole laundry list. I'm gonna do my best. I might rank it from caloric intake from top 5 down like that. I don't know, Jay. I'm really inspired now.
All right. Well, we'll find out which one it is, but we'll let you be our guide a couple nights. Yes. By the way, Tuesday night, July 16, 7:00 Eastern time, 6:00 Central, the All-Star game at Globe Life Field, Arlington, Texas.
Ray Tanner, we need a box. Ray Tanner, we need a box. I'm putting it out there on the radar wave.
Yeah, that I don't know what's going to be going on there, but we might have to.
It's dangerous.
Yeah,
the plan's coming together.
That could absolutely be a thing. We hadn't talked to you in a little while when it comes to football stuff. Just what do you like to keep an eye on right now? And as you look, let's talk Gamecocks for a minute, Langston. As you look at what happened last season, and Elijah in a little bit here is going to give you his deep dive into defensive line production and what returns. But overall, like, where do you see this team? I mean, new quarterback, a lot of new receivers, a lot of new everything, man, and still some pretty relative heavy expectations.
Oh, 100%. One, because of the conference, the add-ins. The reason why you guys are coming out here to Dallas for the SEC media days is because the addition of Oklahoma and Texas. So, again, it just continues we know to bubble up to the top. So, internally, within the state in the pecking order, because, I mean, it was already tough for us to be in the SEC East, which, again, doesn't exist anymore. All of these things are coming together. This time of year is really interesting to see how things have shifted because, this will be the time we see a lot of guys. Obviously, the work is still happening, and these things are happening. You used to see a lot of, the off-season workout videos, flipping the tires in the morning, all these different things. Now it's every recruitment, and it's wild to me because the shift of how recruitment went from everybody trying to hold out until the last minute, i.e. February, to sign that letter of intent, all of those showmanship. Now you're seeing a lot of it during the summertime, and this, again, is probably a good sweet spot for coaches because, one, the head coaches couldn't really be in and around the facilities when a lot of that off-season grunt work was going on. They'd love to, but the NCAA, the one thing they try to do, they have done right, is try to protect us and get those guys away from there. So there's a pitch count on that. But this allows them to, as it has shifted, all the recruitment, all the camps and the combined, but also giving guys a leg up to start going the year behind. So that's the big thing that's really surprised me of how it's changed in the off season. But for the Gamecocks, like I said, that work has been going on. But the head coach has really been having to beat his own drum. Having the host guys do all these different things. You've seen all these different schools kind of take the same way. But, of course, we all know this is because of the advent of the multiple signing days, NIL, the transfer portal. And so for us this year, not to say it's quite like Virginia Tech 1999 is when they had a guy coming out of this small little town and he set the world on fire. But for Gamecock Nation, I think the guy with the goggles from right up the road in Florence, there's a lot of expectation on him, and I think obviously a lot hangs on the direction of the program and what he's going to, how advanced he's going to be. And I'm really excited. I mean, of course, we've heard nothing but great physical things about the kid, but also the leadership stuff that's been kind of coming out over in the offseason. That's the biggest thing, the maturity for a young guy to make sure that, one, it's great to be the guy and have somebody want to for you to go out there and take over a game, but how are you going to bring some of these other guys along with you? And that's really where it feels like the team is kind of obviously the weight of the success of the program, the success of the team going this year is going to be on that guy. And also that defense, like Elijah's going to have to talk about here, because we have been building up that room. We have multiple players of the week last year, defensive players, so having it all come together, that's a great thing if it all comes that way for us, and hopefully it is.
And so much of it starts up front. We'll come back on the other side. As Langston just mentioned, and we talked about, Elijah's done a deep dive into the returning production on the Gamecock defensive line. Obviously, Langston's number one place of expertise. We'll get his thoughts on that and more as the postgame show continues.
I would say I would starve myself in preparation for all the food I'm going to eat, but it's going to go the other way. I'm going to eat myself in preparation before y'all get here.
Well, here's the thing. They'll give us some box lunches and stuff. The places that we can go and have the company pay for, that'll be better. Later, next time we have you on, I'll share some Deuce stories about media days, and we'll try to navigate around like what not to do, because Deuce was getting inundated as a former NFLer with interview requests. So it may be the same for you, especially once they find out you played for Lou Holtz. So just fair warning.
Again, don't confuse me with somebody who actually, got multiple contracts in the NFL, because that's definitely what Deuce did. But I got plenty of stories. I have no problem going up and down the road, man. It'll be a great experience.
No, it'll be a lot of fun. All right, Elijah has done homework, so I'm going to turn it over to him, Langston, and this is all defensive line stuff. So I'll just let you, and then he wants your take, but I know I'll let him go.
Certainly. And I'd love to know what Langston thinks of this and whether or not this can improve, because I was listening to the Cover 3 podcast the other day. Bud Elliott mentioned, who's really good at covering the sport, but he mentioned, he posed a question of whether or not South Carolina has the best defensive line unit in the SEC, and he said they certainly contend. And that same day, I was on ESPN.com. I was looking at Bill Connolly's metrics on how he was measuring, returning production. And according to Bill Connolly and his numbers, South Carolina is returning 74% of their defensive production, which is second in the SEC. So I conducted a little experiment here. I went through every team in the SEC's too deep on the depth chart on ourlads.com, which is always really, really accurate in terms of the closest thing you can get to a depth chart without getting it from a coach, right? So I go too deep on every defensive line position, and I take the average of your pass rush grade and your run defense grade on PFF, which isn't an exact science, but it quantifies, from scouts exactly how well you were or how productive you were at your position. So I did that with every team in the SEC, all 16. And I was surprised to see that South Carolina is 12th in returning production on the average run defense grade. They're 7th in the SEC in average returning pass rush grade on the defensive line. Now, this also includes transfers. So it's returning production and production you're getting from other D1 players. So how productive you were at a different D1 school and what the projected lineup's supposed to be. Are you surprised that it would be that low, and especially in the run defense category? And if so, as talented as this group is, and as much as they're bringing back, do you see a lot of room for growth and potential with this group?
Well, I think that's probably why that ranking is so low. One, it still is stacked in the SEC. Tennessee has a line, and they probably got one of the top 5 players in the country coming back on that D line. But to be honest, we've just been porous the last couple of years, especially when it comes to stopping the run consistently. And so, yes, we got a lot of guys coming back, but however they factor up those production grades, which is crazy. I mean, it's wild to talk about pork rind technology, pass rush, and run game. There's guys who, there's guys who would not have those stats, and the Vince War folks of the world would really only be appreciated by a few. And he didn't have a whole bunch of stats in Miami. You know what I'm saying? It's not one of he was Calais Campbell, who had 20 sacks, I think, or something like that one year as a college player. But now we're starting to quantify and figure out those guys who take up 2 or 3 bodies. Maybe don't get a lot of sacks. I'm thinking about a lot of the defensive line from Missouri, those guys. So, again, I think it's wild that, one, we can kind of compute that, but I kind of see where they're going. But if one of the biggest factors is probably going to be those runs, getting off the field on third down runs, we just haven't been really consistent at that. But to that flip side, we do have flashes, and we do have a lot of depth on our defensive line. So even though those guys haven't maybe, of course, performed their best football, but we still had guys be consecutive defensive SEC players of the week. And again, when I say that, I'm thinking about when we've done that in the past with guys from the Will Muschamp era, when we had a whole slew of defensive ends that, of course, did that back-to-back against the Tennessee game. I'm trying to, my mind's blanking. The kid just went to the Panthers. But anyway, that's bad journalism to bring up a name. You can't even bring it up. But my point is, I think we are stacked. The biggest thing for us with that metric is going out there and improving it this year, making sure that we do that and that we are kind of the straw that stirs the drink for the team and sets the tone, because we do have a lot of talent. Junior college guys transferring in, young guys who have been in the program. So it's a nice little mixture. So there's also some familiarity, and I like to see them kind of always be the tone setters for our team this year and get out there and do that. But not surprised by kind of like all the analytics, but it just also blows my mind that we can always put those things together and put it into some mid-season, off-season stuff to think about and talk about.
What do you remember about when some things clicked to kind of go along with, the experience and veteran players and that kind of thing? A lot of this, again, coaches can't get out there and make the tackle for you, can't get out there and swim around that block or whatever it might be, Langston. But I imagine you had multiple light bulb moments in your collegiate career, in NFL too, I'm sure. But like, where was a point in your career at Carolina when you were like, oh yeah, okay, and then you could build upon that?
Going into, of course, it's the famous 0-11 and all that stuff, but going to the back end of that year, our defense was good, but one or two, I think it was like the last Florida game, the Clemson game, we were close. But again, we still finished the season 0-11, so what does that really mean? But that momentum, all through the off-season, the competition was high between everybody on the team, offense, defense, everybody. I mean, I even think Courtney Levitt, those guys are sticking their nose in there and getting, some weight room stuff up. But the whole point, going into the two-a-day deal, a lot of good on good. The competition was high every day. Of course, it's going to be, 24 periods of hell with Coach Holtz, holding some of those periods as well. And so every day it felt like, a practice, that whole, all the little mantras that Coach Holtz used to talk about, treat the practice like game. And every day it felt like we were playing a game because of the competition was ratcheting up. And obviously it felt like it exploded that first game against New Mexico State when we went out there. And that was cool. But going from kind of the sequential order of two-a-days into playing New Mexico State, getting that first win, all right, and seeing like, okay, it's real, but then having, of course, Georgia come in the next week. If I get my years together right, yeah, I think that's right. They came in the next week, and of course, and we put it together, and just like everything that we were practicing were true. The plan worked. All of that stuff that they were pounding in our heads for weeks and weeks, it all kind of felt like it was just like that key and that lock opening up just in a nice little order. And of course, we went on a nice little run right there. And so I think that's the biggest thing, is just that momentum coming in the off season, a lot of competitions. That's why you see, so many different ways and that these programs are trying to figure out to keep kids engaged in the off season, with whether it's going out to Fort Jackson or playing paintball, however it is you try to be creative to do it. I think that's the biggest key, is to be creative and not try to just say, oh, we're just going to do flag football on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then we'll have a winner. Whoever loses gets pizza. Like, that doesn't work anymore, because, of course, these are supreme athletes. And sometimes the ice cream party works, but, the other times it's about trying to figure out ways to keep these guys engaged and rolling that and having that momentum roll into the season, but, of course, keeping everybody healthy.
DJ Wanham, by the way, is who you were mentioning, who
That's
just joined the Panthers. Yeah, he was up in Minnesota for a little bit. I know you didn't play with him here, but you covered him when you were doing sidelines. But now that Travian Robertson is coaching this defensive line, and y'all played similar positions, you had similar NFL careers, and you know each other well enough, what do you see in him now that he's going to translate into his guys?
Oh, just a lot of tough nose every day. Bring that workman's mentality to the actual room, to the game, but also, how to be a pro and have fun being a pro. Because, like you said, he played a long time, and, I joke around, but he was down there in Atlanta with a lot of great players, with John, with the rest of a lot of great defensive linemen, and they had a nice little run, some playoff runs, I think, with that Atlanta team. So, of course, he's also been touched by the hem of the defensive line god, and from South Carolina, our guy Brad Long. So, I mean, coached under him. If you can make it through Brad, and obviously if Brad always reveres you as much as he has Coach Travian, man, I think those, and again, I'm just seeing some of the stuff. I know the kids really gravitate to him, but, showing them how to be a pro, not just on the NFL level, but to start working these things every day. That's the biggest thing, and that's why I'm really excited about that group, with the depth, with everybody. That can really be the catalyst for our team to kind of say, this is our identity, getting after people with defense, especially 4 or 5 guys in that rotation, that could really help. And just like I said, who knows what we can do on that offense with that special guy we got for Florence coming.
You think he has Brad's vocabulary?
Oh, man. Oh, man. So, of course, you got to understand he's got his own, coming from where he's from. He's a dip coach. He's one of those old school. So you have to understand a certain vocabulary does come. If you are a dip guy, I don't know if I can say that, I might be getting him in trouble. You also have a hidden vocabulary list that's probably very eclectic and very creative. That has been birthed in these backwoods of North Carolina and South Carolina, and oh man, I can only imagine. One of my favorites. Shout out to my defensive line coach. He was an old school. He used to wear Jay. This guy was my NFL coach for the Arizona Cardinals. Deke Pollard, rest in peace. He used to wear cotton gym shorts. As this is like 2004, 5. Jay. This is like we've had mesh technology, breathable, everything. This guy was out there. His favorite phrase: "Don't piss up a rope today, Langston." So you can figure out that quote all you want. Don't piss up a rope today, Langston.
All right, sit tight.
Shout out Deke Pollard, my man.
We'll let that soak into everybody's consciousness because that's good advice. That's good advice.
Absolutely, don't hurt yourself. Right.
We'll wrap it up with Mr. Moore when the postgame show continues. All right, welcome back in. The post-game show continues on this Friday afternoon. Jay and Elijah with you. A few more minutes with our good friend Langston Moore joining us on the guest line from his home in Dallas. We're heading out there for SEC Media Days in about a month. Langston is going to be part of the crew. Looking forward to that, and we're all officially booked. So that's a positive sign. All right, I got something to throw at you guys. Langston, I know you got some buddies that have won the Super Bowl. And you've seen their rings. I got to put deuces on one time, and they basically swallowed my hand. These things are big. But have y'all seen this story? Travis Kelce, apparently the Chiefs' latest ring is so big that on the inside of the ring, they put all the results of the games in the playoffs, including the seed of the opponent. But they got it wrong with the Dolphins. They were listed as the 7 seed, and whoever the Chiefs jeweler is or whatever, they gave it to them, and it listed them rather as the 7 seed. They were the 6 seed. And I'm thinking to myself, Langston, how big, like, I don't know, y'all got Outback Bowl rings, right? Like, how big are these things? Can I put a newspaper in there? Have you ever thought about the fact that they can put the seed number of the opponent in the playoffs and have enough room for all that? Like, what are we looking at here?
I thought you'd say like Kansas City somehow put like a smoke in there or something like electric, something like that, because it is wild. Like a lot of the rings, like they got compartments now. You tap one time over here on the left and it folds out the stat line.
Who was the one that did that? Like you could fold it out and it became like a pendant too. Who did that?
Yeah.
Was it the year before? Who won the year before Kansas City? They won back to back. So who?
Then the Rams.
Somehow
right?
you could
maybe, I don't know. Somebody did.
You can convert it to a brooch and let your grandmama use it on the weekends when you're not, you know what I'm saying?
She's going to wear it to church.
It's wild because I guess it's getting to the point where, like, at one point the rings were, like, really, like, classroom friendship rings. Like, you look at some of those early Super Bowl rings, and then you start getting to the middle. All right, now we're growing. Now it's just becoming like a monstrosity. Like, I don't even think your Wi-Fi works when a lot of times those guys have those. Because it takes, like, over 2. These guys already got size 15, 16, 17 ring fingers, and the ring is like, going over the other 2 hands of of Larry Allen, rest in peace. You know what I'm saying? So something like that. It's like, it's crazy. But I guess it just comes to a point where, like, they don't make those now for you to really wear them. And if you're only going to wear them, you're going to be the guy on the Super, you're on a broadcast or something. Hopefully they're not wearing it at the region high school football game, just, blinding all the kids from the sideline. But that is wild that it is getting to that point.
Yeah, no, you're right. You can't. The one, I forget who. I'll look it up. But
they can't keep getting bigger forever, right? Eventually, we have to regress to the mean. We can only get so big.
I mean, somebody's going to make a time capsule. Like, somehow we put a time capsule. You can slide this disc out. You can bury your own time capsule from your – something crazy like that is coming along for sure.
It'll take an SD card. It'll glow. Yeah, you can, like, start watching movies on it.
It's a hologram.
It'll just be like Star Wars. It'll have a hologram projection. It'll be like, this is my favorite – this is the time that Andy Reid cussed us out during Week 16. It'll just have a loop of continuous holograms.
Or like
that'll be dope. We can start –
Well, Langston, you and I are old enough to remember the original Superman movie. We had those little crystals. You could, like, watch the different things. Like, with his, that's what it'll be. Like, you tap one of the diamonds on your ring, and, yeah, it'll be a highlight of that game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but Travis Kelce was doing his podcast with his brother, and he said, I don't give a bleep about it being wrong. And he says, nah, I like it that we didn't give a bleep about what seed Miami is. They were the 7th. Who cares? They could have done no seeds. I would have been fine. But he says now this is sort of like when they have a baseball card like that where the guy's upside down and it is worth more. He says this will be worth more.
So that's why I was going to ask, is this going to be like, because he was like, man, I don't mind. No, you got to get them to make everybody a whole other ring so your team has, like, and the only history has like an asterisk, and oh man, the pawn shops will be going crazy because which ring will be the right one? The more expensive one, more valued at. So the one with the wrong seating, or which one? That'll be that's right on right there.
This one has 529 diamonds, 38 rubies, 14.8 carats worth of total gems. It has a display celebrating the Tom and Jerry play where they scored their overtime touchdown to win the Super Bowl. I don't know how that works, but that's what it's got. So
but no hologram.
No,
I mean,
not yet.
On, man. What
not yet. But if they get Jostens to remake it, maybe they'll just throw a hologram in there. Appreciate you as always, sir. Thank you. Best to the family. I know the daughter is moving to D.C. here pretty soon for college and playing softball, so that's very exciting. We'll talk to you before Dallas, but we appreciate you agreeing to be part of it. We're going to have a lot of fun when we go do that.
No, man, it's going to be dope, man. Y'all be safe, and we'll see you soon.
That is Langston Moore. Remove the Chains on Twitter. Athletesandartists.net is the website. Learn all about the Just a Chicken series of books for the kids, how you can get Langston and our good friend Preston Thorne, Coach P, into a classroom or other speaking engagement near you, the Butt and Gut podcast, and so much more. Athletesandartists.net. Hour 2 of the program is coming up. We'll revisit the poll question on the College World Series and talk to Joe Rexrode of The Athletic in Omaha. Be right back.